All right, everybody, let's get right into it. Puppets. We're talking designing them, building them, bringing them to life. RoleCatcher has a whole guide for this career path, so we're diving deep into that today. Got interview tips, too.
And what's amazing about this field is it's not just one thing, right? You need artistic vision, sure, but then the practical skills to actually make the puppet work. It's fascinating.
Totally. And that comes across in those interview questions they highlighted. 8 of them, and they really make you think. Like, first one, tell us about your experience in puppet design. Sounds simple, but
But it's your chance to show that passion that the role catcher guide mentions constantly, not just, I worked here, then there.
it's got to be the story, right? Like, I was building creatures for the school play in 3rd grade, or were you that kid with a whole sock puppet family?
See, that's what interviewers pick up on. Those personal projects tell you someone's got that drive, that ingenuity. They want to bring things to life.
And speaking of showing your work, portfolio time, even if you're just starting out, what makes one stand out in this field?
It's got to show how much you can do A&D, how creative you are. Sketches, photos, even videos of your puppets in action if you can. Different materials, different styles.
So that shadow puppet theater you made from your grandma's old sheets. Fair game.
100%. That tells a story, shows you're resourceful, passionate. That's what matters early on.
Love it. Okay, getting into the nitty-gritty now, question 2. How do you approach designing a new W puppet?
This is where your process comes out. You get a script, an idea. What's step 1? Research, mood boards, sketches, and then what materials are you drawn to, what techniques?
And here's where something like RoleCatcher's AI can give you a leg up, right? Their platform analyzes job descriptions, pulls out those keywords, so your application POPs.
Exactly. If they mention experience with home fabrication and you've messed around with that, boom, highlight it. Shows you're paying attention, you got the skills they need.
Smart. Okay, question 3. Throws a curveball. Different types of puppetry. Hand puppets, marionettes, shadow puppets. It's like knowing how to speak puppet languages.
And this is where honesty is key. Don't have to be a master of all of them, but show you're eager to learn. If you're a hand puppet pro but curious about marionettes, say that. Enthusiasm goes a long way.
Speaking of enthusiasm, question 4 dives right into the heart of it. How do you incorporate storytelling into your designs? I love this one.
It's huge. Because a puppet isn't just a cool-looking thing, it's got to help tell a story. So how would you use design to show emotions, relationships, even plot points?
Right, like the guide mentions a puppet's eyes. Even a mischievous glint or a wide-eyed stare adds so much to the performance.
Exactly. Think about how the puppet moves, its size, its costume, they all add to the story. Shows you're thinking beyond just construction, you're thinking like a storyteller.
And that leads perfectly into question 5, all about teamwork. How do you work with directors, writers, other designers? Because puppetry, it's a team effort.
100%. And this is where you highlight your communication skills, being flexible, taking feedback, and making it work with your designs.
This is where RoleCatcher's AI feedback on interview answers is gold, right?
Yeah.
Practice your responses, get tips on sounding like a team player.
So important, because even with an amazing puppet, if you can't collaborate, it might not see the stage. Got to balance your vision with what the production needs.
Makes sense. Okay, on to the practical side of things. Question 6. How do you make sure your puppets are safe and durable? Because let's be real, puppets go through a lot.
More than people realize. You're thinking about what they're made of, how they're put together, any potential hazards. Imagine a kid going wild with it. It's got to be tough.
And safe. They mention fire safety in the guide, especially for stage productions.
Huge. Fire retardant fabrics, nothing loose that could be dangerous, non-toxic paints. You're protecting the puppeteers and the audience.
So it's a balancing act, making it look good, making it work, and making it safe. Not just a puppet, but something that can handle the pressure of being on stage.
Exactly. That's the mark of a real puppet designer, knowing your creation needs to be both beautiful and built to last.
And speaking of the audience, question 7 takes us there. How do you approach making puppets for different age groups? Because what works on Sesame Street might not work on Broadway.
100%. You've got to think about the visuals, the themes, even how big or small the puppet is. For toddlers, maybe bright colors, big and cuddly. For adults, more stylized, abstract, maybe even a little creepy if the story needs it.
Got to know your audience and design for them, right, to create that impact you want.
And that's a skill that goes beyond puppets, really. Understanding your audience, that's communication 101 no matter what you're doing.
Truth. And to nail that communication during interviews, RoleCatcher's got that video practice analysis, which is pretty cool. Record yourself answering questions.
And their AI gives you feedback. body language, your tone, everything, like having a personal coach. Super helpful, especially if you get nervous in interviews. Practice, get that feedback. That can boost your confidence and help you really make an impression.
That's awesome. Ready to tackle the last question in this puppet prep marathon?
Let's do it. I have a feeling it's a big one. You got it. It's about experience, but on a bigger scale. Question 8 asks, can you describe your experience working on large-scale puppet productions? They want to know you can handle the big leagues.
Okay, so you've built a puppet in your garage. That's awesome. But can you handle a team of puppeteers, a complex set, maybe even pyrotechnics going off while your creation takes center stage?
Exactly. This question is all about showing you can organize, delegate, problem solve, keep cool under pressure.
So if you've managed a team even on a smaller project, talk about it. If you've juggled multiple design elements, deadlines, budgets, that all counts.
Absolutely. Even if you haven't worked on a Broadway scale production, showing those skills translates. That and enthusiasm for those bigger challenges goes a long way.
Like, hey, I might not have wrangled a 20-foot dragon puppet, but I'm ready to learn.
That's the spirit. And RoleCatcher's Guide really emphasizes that. Continuous learning in this field is key. New tech, new materials, new techniques all the time.
So true. Even just thinking about those robotic elements we touched on, that's a whole new world for puppet design.
The possibilities are pretty mind-blowing. Puppets with intricate robotics, animatronics that look eerily real. It's an exciting time to be in this field.
And it's not just about the tech itself. It's about how that tech pushes the boundaries of what you can do with puppetry, with storytelling.
100%. Puppets can be so powerful for conveying emotions, for tackling complex themes, even making social commentary. They can be whimsical and fun, but also make you think.
Like, never underestimate what a well-made puppet can do.
Couldn't agree more. And the RoleCatcher Guide touches on that, highlighting just how many career paths open up for puppet designers.
Right. Theater, film, TV,
Yeah.
even independent art installations or museum exhibits.
And don't forget educational puppetry, theme park design, and therapeutic puppetry is a growing field too, using puppets to help people communicate and heal.
Wow, it's amazing how this one art form branches out into so many different areas.
It really shows you the power of puppetry to connect with people, no matter who they are or where they come from.
You know, thinking back to all those interview questions, it strikes me that they're not just about your skills, but your passion. Do you really love puppets?
Absolutely. They want to see that spark, that excitement when you talk about making something come to life. They want to see your enthusiasm for the craft, for the collaboration, for the magic of it all.
And that's where platforms like RoleCatcher come in.
Right.
They're giving you the tools not just to prep for those questions, but to really nail your answers and show off your unique talents.
Their AI-powered feedback is like having a personal coach right there in your pocket, helping you refine what you want to say.
For real, you practice your responses, get tips on how to be more clear, more concise, even your word choice, like a secret weapon.
And the video practice analysis. Game changer. You record yourself answering questions, and their AI breaks down your body language, your tone of voice, everything.
It's like having a virtual mirror showing you exactly how you come across. That's huge for making a good first impression.
Because interviews can be nerve-wracking, right? Even for seasoned pros, having these tools to practice, get feedback, refine your presentation makes a huge difference.
It's all about putting your best foot forward, letting that passion shine.
Exactly. And speaking of shining, I'm curious, what are some of the most unique materials you've seen used in puppet design?
Ooh, that's a fun one. You know, I once saw this incredible sea serpent puppet made entirely from recycled plastic bottles. The way the artist used the textures and colors of the plastic to create scales and patterns, it was both visually stunning, a powerful message about sustainability.
Wow, that's incredible. It speaks to that ingenuity puppet designers have, seeing the potential in everyday objects and turning them into something amazing.
Absolutely, and I think that's a big part of what makes this field so captivating. It's art, it's craftsmanship, and yeah, there's a touch of magic in there too.
And with the right guidance, preparation, and a little help from AI tools like RoleCatcher, anyone with a passion for puppetry can make their dreams a reality.
Love that. It's a message of hope and inspiration for sure.
Absolutely. The world needs more puppetry, more creativity, more stories told through these whimsical, wonderful creations.
Speaking of stories,
Yeah.
one thing I really appreciated in the RoleCatcher Guide was how much they emphasized researching the company and the specific production you're interviewing for. It's not just knowing puppets, it's understanding the context, right?
That's so key. It shows you're invested, you did your homework, and you're genuinely interested in what they do.
Exactly. So if you're interviewing with a children's theater company, for example, brush up on their past shows, their target audience, their overall mission. Show them your thinking beyond just the puppets themselves.
It's about showing you're not just looking for a job, you're looking for the right fit, where your passions and skills align with their vision.
It's like finding the perfect stage for your puppetry.
Exactly. And when you find that perfect stage, that's where the magic really happens.
I love that. So to all our aspiring puppet designers out there, research, prepare, practice, and most importantly, let that passion for puppetry shine.
Who knows, you might just design the next iconic puppet that captivates audiences for years to come.
Now, wouldn't that be a story to tell?
Absolutely. And with platforms like RoleCatcher, those stories are becoming more attainable every day.
Speaking of RoleCatcher, I'm curious about their AI. How does it actually work? Like, how does it analyze job descriptions and give feedback tailored to specific roles? It sounds almost too good to be true.
Right, almost magical. But from what I understand, it's all based on these really sophisticated algorithms and machine learning. Basically, they've trained their AI on tons of data, job descriptions, resumes, interview responses. That lets it spot patterns and figure out what makes certain candidates stand out for certain jobs.
So it's like having a whole team of expert recruiters analyzing your every word and gesture, but in a way that's personalized just for you.
Exactly. Takes the guesswork out of interview prep, gives you these data-driven insights you might not get otherwise.
That's wild. It feels like the future of career help and interview coaching for sure.
I agree. It's exciting to see technology being used this way, to empower job seekers and help them put their best foot forward, especially in a field as competitive as puppet design.
Totally. Because talent and passion are key. But having that extra edge can make all the difference. Speaking of talent and passion, one thing that comes up a lot in creative fields is how to deal with rejection. It's inevitable, but it can be tough, especially when you pour your heart into your work.
You're right. Rejection is part of the journey, especially in art where it's so subjective. It's how you handle it that really matters.
Or how do you recommend dealing with those no's without letting them crush your creative spirit?
Well, first, remember that rejection isn't personal. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means your style or your vision isn't the right fit for that particular project or company at that time.
It's not you, it's them, as they say.
Exactly. And instead of dwelling on it, try to see it as a learning opportunity. If you can, ask for feedback. What could you have done differently? Were there areas where you fell short?
Turn that rejection into a learning experience.
Yes. And don't be afraid to reach out to mentors, peers, even online communities for support. Remember, every artist faces rejection. It's all part of the process.
Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going.
Exactly. That next audition or interview might be the one that changes everything.
Love that. It's a message of resilience, perseverance, and really believing in your craft.
Absolutely. When you're passionate about something, you don't give up easily. Keep creating, keep learning, keep evolving. Your talent will find its place.
Beautifully said. Now, before we wrap up this amazing dive into puppet design, we talked earlier about showing your passion and personality during interviews. How do you strike that balance? Being professional, but letting your inner puppet enthusiast shine through?
That's a great question. It's about finding that sweet spot between being prepared and polished, but also letting that genuine enthusiasm for puppetry come through.
So don't be afraid to let your personality show a bit.
Not at all. In fact, I encourage it. Share a story about what first drew you to puppetry, or a performance that moved you, or even a tough project you learned from.
Show them you're not just a puppet maker, you're a puppet enthusiast, a storyteller. You bring these creations to life.
Exactly. Because interviewers are looking for passionate people, people who are excited to join their team, not just someone who checks boxes on a resume.
It's about that spark, that connection that makes you memorable.
Exactly. And sometimes that spark, it comes from your love for a giant talking banana with googly eyes.
You know what? I think you just summed up the essence of puppetry perfectly. Embracing the whimsy, the creativity, the joy of it all.
And sharing that joy. Puppetry, at its heart, is about connecting with people, sparking imaginations, reminding us of the power of stories.
Beautifully said. Okay, before we get too carried away in our puppet love fest here, I think it's time to wrap up this episode. Any final words of wisdom for our aspiring puppet designers out there?
Let's see. Embrace your creativity, never stop learning, and don't be afraid to let your freak flag fly. The world needs your voice, your vision, and your passion.
I love it. Embrace your creativity, never stop learning, and let your freak flag fly. Words to live by. I think that's the perfect way to put it. Embrace that inner puppet enthusiast, freak flag and all. Seriously, though, this has been fantastic. Practical tips, sure, but we also got into the heart of what makes this art form so special.
It has been a joy, really. Even prepping for something specific like an interview, we see how much creativity and collaboration matter. And bringing joy to people, that's huge.
It really is. So, to everyone listening, we hope this deep dive gave you some knowledge and maybe even inspired you a little, right? Those puppets aren't going to design themselves.
Yet. That's the thing. Who knows what the future holds? Maybe one of our listeners out there will be the one to create a puppet controlled entirely by thought.
Now, that's a deep dive for another time. But until then, keep those creative sparks flying, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Deep Dive.